Picture a vehicle moving past you at 30 miles per hour. Total darkness, no headlights, no taillights, no reflections. You see nothing, you hear nothing. It passes within 50 feet. You never knew it was there. That vehicle is lit up like a Christmas tree. You just can't see the light. NATO has been driving convoys this way since 1991. Every major theater, every continent. Tens of thousands of vehicles moving through hostile territory. Completely invisible to the naked eye. The lights they use cost about $50 online. You can buy them right now, add a basic night vision monocular for another $30 to $80. Total system cost, under $120. The Department of Transportation says you can never use them on a public road. Not during a blackout, not during a natural disaster, not during a grid collapse, not ever. A proven, combat-tested military technology, available to every civilian in America, prohibited by a regulation written in 1968, a regulation with no emergency clause. Here's how it works, why the military trusts it with lives every single night, and why the DOT says you can't have it. Welcome back. If you're new here, this channel exists for one reason: to recover practical knowledge that works. Not theory, not opinion, not what's trending. What works. Tested by time, validated by history, and too often kept just out of reach by institutions that benefit from your dependence. If that matters to you, subscribe. You're joining a community that values capability over compliance. People who want to know what the military knows, what our ancestors knew, what the engineers know. People who prepare before the emergency, not after. This topic sits right at the intersection of physics, military doctrine, federal law, and your ability to move when the lights go out. So let's start with why you can't see it. Visible light occupies a narrow band of the electromagnetic spectrum, 380 nanometers on the violet end, 700 nanometers on the red end. Everything your eyes can detect falls within that tiny window. Below 380, you get ultraviolet. Above 700, you get infrared. Infrared light is real light. It behaves like light. It reflects off objects. It illuminates surfaces. It follows every optical law visible light follows. Your eyes simply cannot detect it. The photoreceptors in your retina do not respond to wavelengths above roughly 700 nanometers. It's not that the light is dim, it's that your biology has no receptor for it. You are physically blind to it. The military figured this out a long time ago. During World War II, blackout driving was crude. Vehicles used heavily shielded headlights with narrow slits that cast a tiny beam of visible white light downward onto the road surface. It worked poorly. Drivers could barely see. Accidents were constant. Convoys moved at walking pace. The technology was a compromise, not a solution. The real breakthrough came during the Cold War. The first generation starlight scopes appeared in the 1960s. These devices amplified ambient light, moonlight, starlight, and made night operations possible without any active illumination. But they were heavy, fragile, and dependent on at least some ambient light to amplify. The leap that changed everything was active infrared illumination paired with night vision devices tuned to detect it. Instead of amplifying whatever dim light exists, you flood the environment with infrared light that is invisible to the unaided eye, but blazingly bright through a night vision device. By the Gulf War in 1991, the system was operational at scale. Coalition convoys moved through the Iraqi desert in complete blackout. Hundreds of vehicles, infrared headlights on, night vision goggles on every driver. To Iraqi forces without night vision, those convoys were invisible. To the drivers, the road ahead was lit like daylight. It worked so well that NATO formalized it. On July 8, 1994, NATO published STANAG 4381. That stands for Standardization Agreement. This document established the interoperability standards for infrared lighting on military vehicles across every NATO member nation. It specifies wavelength ranges, mounting positions, intensity levels, and beam patterns. It was updated as recently as 2025. It remains active doctrine. The vehicles that carry these systems read like a catalog of every armored and tactical platform in Western service. The MRAP, the Jackal, the MRZR, the Daegor, the Boxer, the BV-206. Every one of them is equipped with infrared driving lights that comply with STANAG 4381 and meet MIL-STD-461F for electromagnetic compatibility and MIL-STD-810F for environmental hardening. Two wavelengths dominate military use, 850 nanometers and 940 nanometers. The standard military specification centers around 890 nanometers. Here's a detail that matters, and I'll come back to it. 850 nanometer emitters produce a faint red glow visible to the naked eye at close range. Very faint. Most people would never notice. But it's there. 940 nanometer emitters produce zero visible emission. None whatsoever. Truly invisible. But that invisibility comes at a cost that matters to your night vision device. Remember that. We'll resolve it later. So the military proved it works. Then they standardized it across every NATO nation, every major theater since 1991, tens of thousands of vehicles, exposed to every climate, every terrain, every operational tempo on Earth. Now here's what happened on the civilian side, or rather, what didn't. Before we go further, everything I'm covering here is the surface layer of a much deeper body of research. Inside the vault, our extended resource library, you'll find complete IR system build guides with wiring diagrams, a state-by-state legal analysis for off-road and private property use, NVG generation comparison charts with real-world range data, sourcing lists with current pricing and vendor reliability ratings, and operational checklists adapted from military convoy doctrine for civilian application. No fluff, no filler. Just organized, actionable depth that a single video can't contain. The link is in the description. But everything you need to make an informed decision is right here in this video. Stay. Now let's talk about the regulation that stands in the way. The regulation is called Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standard 108. You can find it in Title 49 of the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 571, Section 108. It was first published in 1968. It was last amended in February of 2022. FMVSS 108 governs every exterior lighting device on every motor vehicle operated on public roads in the United States. Headlamps, tail lamps, turn signals, marker lights, reflectors. Every photon your vehicle emits or reflects while on a public road falls under this standard. The standard specifies approved light sources, approved colors, approved beam patterns, approved mounting heights, approved intensities. Infrared light appears nowhere in the list of approved vehicle lighting. Now here's where the frustration begins. And I want to be precise about this because precision is what separates informed preparedness from paranoia. FMVSS 108 contains no emergency exemption. Read that again. There is no clause that activates during a declared federal emergency. There is no provision for natural disasters. There is no grid failure exception. There is no wartime clause for civilian vehicles. There is no governor's emergency order override. There is no FEMA coordination provision. Each one of those absences is a policy decision. The regulation was written, reviewed, and amended dozens of times over 54 years. It was last touched in 2022. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, is fully aware that infrared vehicle lighting exists. They regulate the automotive lighting industry. They interact with military vehicle standards. They know. And yet, no emergency provision, none. Meanwhile, military vehicles operate in full infrared blackout on the same public roads your vehicle drives on. They do it under military authority, which is exempt from civilian vehicle safety standards. A military convoy can roll through your town at 2 a.m, completely blacked out, infrared lights blazing, invisible to every civilian on the road. That is legal. That is routine. That is doctrine. But if you mount a $50 infrared light bar on your truck and drive home from your property during a power outage, you are in violation of federal motor vehicle safety standards. Now, within the preparedness community, there's a debate about whether this gap is deliberate policy or simply institutional inertia. Some argue that maintaining an exclusive mobility advantage during crises serves institutional interests. Others argue that NHTSA simply has no incentive to create a complex emergency exemption for a niche use case that would add administrative burden. I want to be clear. That question is speculative. I cannot prove intent. What I can prove, and what the document itself proves, is the result. Government vehicles can move invisibly during a crisis. Yours cannot. That is not speculation. That is the text of the regulation, so the military uses it. The law prohibits it for you. And yet, you can buy every single component online right now. This is where the story gets almost absurd. The same companies that supply the United States military sell the exact same infrared lights to civilians. Not similar products, not consumer versions. The same lights. Baja Designs manufactures the Squadron Pro series in both 850 nanometer and 940 nanometer infrared configurations. These are the official lighting systems on the Polaris MRZR and the Polaris Daegor. Those are the ultralight tactical vehicles used by United States Special Operations Command. SOCOM. The same company sells the same infrared lights on their website to anyone with a credit card. No license required, no background check, no end-use certificate. You add it to your cart and check out. Let that sit for a moment. The exact product mounted on a special operations vehicle rolling through a combat theater is available on a retail website. Then there's Black Oak LED. They manufacture 2-inch infrared pods in both 850 nanometer and 940 nanometer. IP69K rated, which means they resist high-pressure steam cleaning, far exceeding military IP67 and IP68 requirements. Lifetime warranty. Around $100 to $200 per unit for the premium option. But here's the number that matters. You don't need Baja Designs. You don't need Black Oak. Those are the premium tier. A basic pair of infrared LED floodlights in 850 nanometers runs between $50 and $120 from multiple manufacturers on Amazon. A basic Generation 1 night vision monocular costs $30 to $80. A wiring harness with a toggle switch costs under $20. Total cost for a complete infrared blackout driving system, $50 to $120. That is less than the average cost of a single headlight bulb replacement at most dealerships. Now let's resolve that wavelength question I left open. 850 nanometers versus 940 nanometers. This matters for your build decision. 850 nanometer infrared produces the maximum brightness through any generation of night vision device. It is the workhorse wavelength, maximum range, maximum clarity. The trade-off is that 850 nanometer emitters produce a very faint, dull red glow visible to the naked eye at close range. In most conditions, no one would notice. But under close inspection, someone looking directly at the emitter would see a dim reddish point of light. 940 nanometer infrared produces zero visible emission, absolute zero. Completely invisible at any range to any unaided human eye. But 940 nanometer light produces roughly 50% less effective range through night vision devices compared to 850 nanometers. With a Generation 1 consumer monocular, the performance penalty is significant. With Generation 3 military-grade devices like a PVS-14 or PVS-31, which cost several thousand to $40,000, the penalty is manageable. For civilian preparedness applications, 850 nanometers is the practical choice. Maximum illumination performance with the most affordable night vision devices. You accept a barely perceptible emitter glow in exchange for dramatically better driving visibility. Veteran reviews on commercial product pages tell the story. Ranchers describe driving property trails in complete darkness. Off-road enthusiasts describe running desert courses with zero visible light signature. The language in the reviews is consistently specific. Range figures, beam quality assessments, NVG pairing recommendations. These are people who use these systems professionally and now use them privately. Now you know what it costs and where to get it. Here's how to put it together. If knowing what the military knows matters to you, subscribe. This is the kind of capability gap we cover every week. The gap between what's available and what's permitted. Between what works and what's approved. Stay informed. But before the build, I owe you the honest limitations. I'm not going to oversell this. Driving with night vision is not like driving with headlights. It is harder. Significantly harder. Military drivers train extensively before operating in blackout conditions. You will not have that training. A monocular gives you one eye of night vision and one eye of darkness. Depth perception degrades immediately. Judging distance to obstacles, to curves, to other vehicles becomes unreliable until you develop the skill through practice. Peripheral vision is severely reduced. You are looking through a narrow tube. Generation 1 devices produce grainy images. They bloom around bright light sources. Resolution is the lowest of any generation. Range is the shortest. Here's a critical tactical reality that most people miss entirely. Your infrared lights are invisible to the naked eye. But to anyone else wearing night vision, your infrared floodlights are blindingly, overwhelmingly bright. You are not invisible to equipped observers. You are a spotlight. Against adversaries with night vision capability, an IR flood provides zero concealment. This system provides concealment only against unaided human eyes. Battery dependency is real. Your NVG dies, you are driving blind with no headlights. There is no graceful fallback. Other road users cannot see a blacked out vehicle. Collision risk to pedestrians, cyclists, and other drivers is severe. You're creating a hazard for everyone around you who lacks night vision. And the legal reality must be restated clearly. This system is illegal to operate on public roads under all currently documented circumstances, including declared emergencies, including grid-down scenarios. FMVSS 108 has no exception. The legal calculus in a genuine crisis is yours to make, but I will not pretend the law is ambiguous. It is not. With those limitations clear, here's the exact build. Equipment list, Tier 1, minimum viable system, $50 to $80. One pair of 850 nanometer infrared LED floodlights, minimum 10 watts each. One generation, one night, vision monocular with head mount, 112-volt wiring harness with inline fuse and toggle switch. Tier 2, enhanced system, $100 to $250. One pair of 850 nanometer IR spotlights, plus one pair of 850 nanometer IR floodlights. Spot for distance, flood for peripheral coverage, one Generation 1 Plus or Generation 2 night vision monocular, 112-volt wiring harness with dual switches. Rear-facing IRLED strip for convoy position marking. Tier 3, premium system, $500 and up. Ceiling determined by NVG generation. Baja Designs Squadron Pro IR or Black Oak 2-inch IR pods. Generation 2 Plus or Generation 3 night vision device. Full wiring with relay and circuit protection. Rear and side IR marker strips. Mounting positions. IR lights mount to the grille, front bumper, brush guard, or roof rack. Grille and bumper positions keep the beam low and forward, reducing skyward light scatter that could be detected at distance. Roof rack mounting provides maximum range but creates a broader IR signature visible to airborne NVG observation. For most civilian applications, grille or bumper mounting is optimal. Wiring is critical, and the detail most people get wrong. Wire the IR lights to your 12-volt system through a dedicated toggle switch that is completely independent of your headlight circuit. Do not tap into existing headlight wiring. Do not wire them through the same switch. Independence is critical because you need to kill all visible lights, headlights, running lights, dashboard illumination, everything, while your IR lights remain active. If they share a circuit, you cannot achieve full blackout. Run a dedicated positive wire from the battery through an inline fuse. 15 amps is sufficient for most LED configurations to a toggle switch mounted within driver reach, from the toggle switch to the IR lights. Ground directly to chassis. Test the circuit with a multimeter before connecting the lights. Total cost for wiring components under $20. For rear convoy marking, mount a short strip of 850 nanometer IR LEDs at the rear of the vehicle, wired to the same toggle or a separate toggle. This allows a following vehicle with NVG to maintain visual contact in convoy formation without any visible light emission. Military doctrine specifies 50 to 75 meter spacing between vehicles in blackout convoy operations. That spacing gives adequate reaction time at convoy speeds of roughly 30 miles per hour. Pre-drive verification procedure. Before moving, power on your night vision device and scan all vehicle surfaces. Every visible light source must be killed. Dashboard LEDs instrument cluster. Radio display. Interior dome lights. Brake light bleed. Phone screens. Any visible light emission compromises the blackout and degrades your night vision adaptation. All place tape over any indicator, LEDs, you cannot switch off. Scan your IR lights through the NVG. Confirm they illuminate the area ahead. Check spot beam alignment for center distance coverage. Check flood beams for peripheral width. Effective illumination range with a typical 10 to 20 watt IR LED array is 100 to 200 meters depending on IR power and your NVG generation. Reduce speed, 30 miles per hour, maximum. The military moves convoys at this speed in blackout for a reason. Your reaction time through a NVG monocular is dramatically slower than with normal vision. Respect that limitation. Practice on private property first. This is not optional. Your first hour driving with night vision should be on land where no other vehicles, pedestrians, or obstacles create risk. Build the skill before you need it. That's the system. Now let's put it in perspective. In the 1940s, soldiers squinted through slit-covered headlights and crashed into each other in the dark. In the 1960s, the first starlight scopes turned moonlight into a tactical advantage. In 1991, coalition forces drove convoys through the desert like ghosts. In 1994, NATO standardized the entire system across every member nation with STANAG 4381. In 2025, the same standard is still active, still updated, still governing tens of thousands of military vehicles on every continent. And today, in your garage, for under $120, you can build the same capability. This is not experimental. This is not exotic. This is not classified. It is a 30-year-old, operationally proven, NATO standardized military technology built from commodity electronics sold by companies that serve both Special Operations Command and retail customers from the same product page. The only thing standing between you and this capability on a public road is a regulation written for permanent peacetime. A regulation that assumes the lights will always be on. The grid will always be up. The roads will always be safe. The government will always be there to manage the darkness for you. Acquire the components legally. Mount them on your vehicle. Practice on private property. Build the skill before the night you need it. Because the regulation doesn't contemplate that night. The military does. Every single night, the capability gap exists. Now you can see it. What you do with that knowledge is yours to decide. Next week, we're covering a communication system the military has used for decades that most civilians don't know is legal to own. It's in the vault already. I'll see you then.